Ms. Mohs, Mrs. Mohs, we're ready for you in your 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the time. Thank you for taking the time to hear my story. My son is Lorie Mohs, and my son's name is Blake Mohs. He was born on January 14, 1997, and was murdered on April 18, 2023, at the young age of 26. In my son's short 26 years, he was a chef, an Eagle Scout, a church youth leader, a Newark Police Department cadet, but most of all, he was a friend, a nephew, a cousin, a grandson, a brother, and my son. Blake lived a life of community service, dedicated to fighting for the underdog, and a love for his family. He lived life to the fullest every day, laughing often and giving the best hugs imaginable. In early 2022, Blake became an asset protection associate for Home Depot. He worked to gain additional experience before applying to the Newark Police Department. When I spoke with Blake on our every Wednesday calls, he would tell me about his training at Home Depot. He would explain that he was trained to locate shoplifters within the store, document their actions, track shoplifters through the store, follow them outside and apprehend them. Then he would bring the shoplifters back into the store to complete a theft report, take photos, and then turn them over to law enforcement if required. When I asked my son about the risk of his new job at Home Depot and if he was provided any personal protective equipment, he quickly would tell me no. I would ask if he'd been issued any bulletproof vests, pepper spray, or safety gear, and he would again tell me no. During many of my calls, we would talk about the level of theft he experienced within Home Depot. He would tell me of the theft rings he would help gather evidence for local police departments and how excited he was to work with the officers. Blake would tell me about the many weapons he had pulled on him, including knives and guns, by shoplifters. When I asked about how he could manage to be safe, my son would tell me he could simply hide behind a post to avoid being shot or hurt. As a mom, my concerns began to grow at the lack of PPE he had been issued by Home Depot. All of my concerns and fears were realized by one phone call. On Tuesday, April 18th, the voice over the phone declared that my son had been shot. I quickly called Eaton Medical, where he had been transported, to get an update. I spoke with the emergency room doctor, and he simply told me to come as quickly as I could. I asked if I needed to gather my family, and he said yes. At that moment, I knew my son was dead. On April 18, 2023, 8 weeks ago today, at 2:15 Pacific Standard Time, my son was shot at close range by a shoplifter while working as an asset protection officer at Home Depot in Pleasanton, California. My son and his teammate had been called into action as Benicia Knapp attempted to steal a charger from the tool department. My son encountered Knapp at the back of the store, where her getaway driver, David Guillory, was awaiting to flee the scene. According to witness statements, my son took the item from Knapp and walked back into the store. Knapp followed my son back into the store. When he turned around, she pulled out her gun from her purse and shot my son in the heart of all places. He fell face forward to the ground and dropped the item. Knapp picked up the item from his dead body and fled in the getaway car. In the days to come, I would learn that Guillory, the getaway driver, was a felon. He had served jail time for a home invasion robbery, but was let go during COVID. We learned that Knapp, my son's executor, had been in and out of trouble since 1995. She was in violation of probation since 2012, but was still roaming the streets free. She also had a concealed permit that had been revoked along with her security guard card. For both Guillory and Knapp, the judicial system failed to rehabilitate them properly. The system failed to keep them accountable for their private actions, leading to the escalation in criminal behavior, leading to the shooting death of my son. The system failed because instead of rehabilitating criminals, we released them early We do not execute proper charges in court, and we fail to seek probation violators. The system failed my son. He was asked to do a job with a small wage and a high risk, leading to his death. Home Depot failed to provide proper protective equipment to secure his safety and carry out his required duties. OSHA failed to make safety a priority for asset protection officers and mandate bulletproof vests. The system failed Blake's future self. He will never be married. He will never have a child. He will never grow old. We will never have another family photo. We will never hear his laughter or feel his hugs. I will never get to say I love you and I'm proud of you, and I'll never hear it back. What we do have is 26 wonderful years of memories that were cut too short. The failing of so many could have prevented his death. Our hope is that our story helps this committee understand the importance and the urgency for change. Thank you for your time and listening to our story.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that very poignant story. Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman Biggs, members of the subcommittee.